We're gonna make it look fly with some DIY. We're gonna make it look fly with some DIY. We're gonna make it look fly with some DIY. Uh-oh, thrift diving.
Hey, what's up? It's Serena Apia from ThriftDiving.com, which is a podcast, a blog, and a YouTube channel that helps you decorate, improve, and maintain your home with paint, power tools, and thrift stores without sacrificing your budget, the environment, or style. Welcome to episode 34 of the podcast. Today, I'm really excited about this episode because I literally got the idea for it earlier this afternoon, standing in the organic store. So I'm standing there filling up my big 5-gallon water containers. I go to this store at least 2 or 3 times a week, and I fill up these huge containers of reverse osmosis water. And I look up and I notice right on the wall, this store had their core values listed right there on the wall. And I was asking myself, Serena, have you ever seen this before? Like, is this new? This is not the first time I've been in this store. I don't go to this particular organic store all the time, but it's not my first time being in this store. And I noticed that they had their core values right there for display for everyone to see. If you just looked up just a little bit past the T's, you would see their 6 core values on the wall. And it got me thinking, what are my core values? What are your core values? Do you know what they are? Do you decorate your home with these core values in mind? Or is there a disconnect between what you think you believe and what you actually do in your home? And I thought it just hit me in such a way, like I was inspired to talk about this today. Like I'm getting goosebumps as I'm talking about it because it made me realize that sometimes we spend a lot of time trying to justify the things that we do to our family members, to our friends, about what it is that we do in our home. And when you think about your core values, if you are doing in your home, whether it's decorating, improving how you manage your money, if you're doing the things that matter to you, that are part of your core value, you don't really have to make excuses about it. You don't have to apologize to other people about what it is that you do or defend what it is that you do because it's your core value. Why do you have to defend that? You don't have to. So I started thinking about my core values and I wanted to list them down. In fact, as I got home from the store, pulled all the groceries into the house, and I sat down and I made a list of my own 6. So I will share with you first what I saw in the store. So this is what I saw. I'm standing there filling these water bottles. I look up, I'm looking around, and I see they've got 6 core values on the wall. So the first one that I saw, it said, let go of ego. Number 2, accept the things you cannot change and change the things that you can. Number 3, we rise by lifting others. Number 4, we have the courage to grow. Number 5, remember your purpose. And number 6, find your gratitude. So I just thought that was amazing to look up when normally your eyes don't tend to go past the top shelf, right? You're always looking for the food item that you need. So I'm glad that I did. And like I said, it got me thinking about what are my core values. So we're going to talk about what my core values are. And I'm going to ask you to think about what yours are. Grab a piece of paper, make a note of what your core values are and how does that translate into your life, how you're running your household, how you're spending time with family in your household, how you're decorating, how you're managing your money, the things that you bring into your home. And let's start with my first one. So my first core value when it relates to my home is that home should be affordable. In fact, on my logo, and it may still be there in some places, but I actually put this on my logo. Home should be affordable. And today I was actually thinking about that. What does that mean? What does the word affordable mean to you? Because I think it means something different to a lot of people. And I'll tell you an example. It's something that I found this week at the Habitat for Humanity that I bought. And it was a little bit more expensive than anything that I've ever bought at a thrift store before. But I want you to think about the word affordable. So for me, what affordable means is that I can buy this thing and I'm not going to go into debt. I'm not going to think twice about the amount of money that I spent. I'm not going to regret spending that amount of money. But the main thing is that I can buy this, whatever this item is, and I don't have to go into debt to buy it. I'm not going to have to give up food or mortgage or clothes for my kids in order to buy this thing. For me, that's what I think affordability is. Can you afford to put this thing in your house and still be able to continue with all your other financial responsibilities and not go into debt? That's what I think affordability is. And that's what I've always believed here at Thrift Diving is that when you are pulling a house together, whether you're doing a room makeover or you're just moving in, you just bought a house, you don't have to go into debt. You should not have to go into debt to be able to afford what you put in your house. So right now, if you're someone listening to this and you've got a cart that you've filled online, a virtual cart that you have filled with all these things that you know you can't afford, but you feel like you need them, that's not affordable. You shouldn't buy it if you can't afford it. And if you're paying cash for it, maybe you're doing a little 3-month financing. Okay, I can understand that. And they don't even have layaway anymore. Like, what happened to layaway? That's kind of a cool idea. I think they should bring that back. But if you're buying something and you are going to have to pull from one place in order to cover it, then that's not affordable. But I still think that it's really relative to a person. And let me give an example. So this week after class, and I don't know if I had told many of you, I'm actually in a carpentry program at my community college. I've been in the program for, I guess, probably 3 years, and I've been taking all of these courses, these carpentry courses, in order to get my 2-year degree. Do I need a 2-year degree? No, I've already got a bachelor's and a master's. But I figured if I'm taking the classes, I may as well get the credit for it. So I've got 2 classes left, and right now I'm currently enrolled in one of the 2 classes that I need in order to get this degree. So I'm leaving class, I'm driving home, and I see a Habitat for Humanity restore. And there's one that's close to my house that I go to all the time. It's not huge, but they usually have a good selection. And hey, I'm a sucker for thrift stores. If I see a restore, I'm going to stop. So I go in there and I'm looking around. It's huge. They've got so many beautiful pieces that unfortunately I don't need. So I was just about to leave and I see this amazing looking, very unique chair from across the room. And I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. I've never seen furniture like that. Let me go check it out. Had a cool design. And I walk up on it and I look at the tag and guess how much it said? $1,100. Yeah, you heard that right. $1,100. It was crazy. And it had a green tag. And when I had first walked in the door, the gentleman said, oh, we're doing 50% off on green tags. So I thought, well, even with 50% off, I mean, that's still $550 with tax, $580. What is so special about this chair? So I pulled my phone out and I put in the name of the company that I saw on the side, the brand name. And it came up Gallanter. I think it's called Gallanter and Jones. So when I pulled up the website, oh my goodness, I found out the chair is actually retailing for $1,700. $1,700. And here it is at the restore for $1,100. I said, okay, well, it's a little bit cheaper, but what makes this chair so cool other than its shape? Well, it's heated. It's made out of stone. And so my little antenna started perking up like, huh? Okay, come on now. We gotta take this chair over here, plug this baby in, and let's see how hot it gets. Because I've never sat in a heated chair. Well, aside from my van, I do have heated seats in my minivan, which I love, absolutely love. So the salesperson there, she helped me pick it up because it's heavy. It's very heavy. It's stone. It's made out of like a hollow concrete. And we pull it over to the receptacle. We plug it in. And I'm sitting there for a moment. I'm like, oh, this thing is broken. Like it's not heating up. And I was actually very happy that it wasn't heating up because I kind of wanted to buy the chair, but I was stumbling. Okay, it's going to cost me $580. I was hoping that it wouldn't work, so that I could easily walk away and say, nope, save my money, didn't buy it. Well, as I'm sitting there contemplating, the chair starts getting hot and it feels like a hot stone massage. Now, I've never had a hot stone massage at a massage, therapist, but let me tell you, this thing felt so good. And it had 5 levels. I had cranked that baby all the way up to number 5, and it got up to, according to their website, this chair can go from 80 degrees to 120 degrees. Oh my goodness, it felt so good. And what was cool is that the interior of the chair, and it's very ergonomical, the interior of the chair got warm, but the outside stayed cool. So if it's in your house and you are pressed up against something, curtains, it's not going to catch fire. And I have to tell you, I bought that chair for $580 from the restore. That is the most expensive thing that I've ever bought from a thrift store. I mean, I don't even buy brand new chairs for $500 for the most part. The most expensive thing that I've bought in my house is my bed, which was literally just 6 months ago, and my sofa. Those are the only things that I will buy brand new, and I will spend money on it because I know that I'll keep it for 20 years. So I'm willing to spend some money on something that I know I'm going to keep for 20 years. So I walked out with this chair feeling like, I scored a really good deal here. This is an amazing chair that was $1,700 retail. I got it for even 50% off. It was only 35% of the retail cost. So when I think about my value, home should be affordable. It's relative because when I posted this on my Instagram page, which if you're not following me, go to @thriftiving, follow me there. You'll see all the stuff I'm doing behind the scenes. When I posted it there was one woman who said, "Oh, heck no." I mean, she used a different word. She's like, "Oh, heck no. I would never pay that amount of money for a chair. Not from the Restore. They're too expensive and da-da-da-da-da-da. And they should realize they're building homes for people. And those people who are buying those homes can't even afford the furniture in their stores." Well, she was kind of going off on a rant, but I pointed out to her, everything that you buy at the Restore goes to helping them build homes. And I have actually volunteered, I guess you can say leads. They call it a CL, I believe, but I'm one of their leads. So when I have time in my schedule, I'll go and I'll volunteer for Habitat for Humanity and help build. And I'll actually supervise some of the volunteers coming in. I love their mission. I wholeheartedly believe in what they're doing. So me paying the $580, I didn't really think twice about it because I knew that I had the money for it. I knew the money was going towards a good purpose. And even though some people would look at that $580 and say, "Oh my God, I cannot believe you spent that amount of money on a chair, on a used chair at that." But it's affordable to me because I know at the end of the month, I'll be able to pay that off. In fact, I'm actually going to be writing it off as a business expense because the chair I decided is perfect for my shed. It's concrete, so there's not fabric or anything that's going to get dirty in the shed. My shed is going to be my workshop. Speaking of which, it's going to be delivered next Thursday. Woohoo! And when I've got the chair in there, it's perfect for when my family, they come to visit me in the shed when I'm working. I can easily wipe the chair down and it's not going to be ruined. And they can sit, they can plug it in, enjoy it while I'm working. So I just saw so much benefit to this chair. And when I realized this chair, okay, although it was more expensive than what I normally buy, it was still a good deal. It was affordable to me because I had the money to pay for it. It's a business expense. I'll pay it off out of my business account, and it's affordable to me. So I don't have to be defensive when people say, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you spent this amount of money on a used chair from the Restore." That's not affordable, but it's not about what other people tells me is affordable. I know it's affordable to me. So when you're buying something, you might decide you want to splurge on a sofa, but you know that, hey, maybe you're getting a bonus check from work, or maybe you've got some other money coming in and you can afford it. Don't feel like you have to explain your purchases as long as you know that it still fits in with your core value. And this chair fits in with my core value because it was affordable to me. Plus, I actually really do love the idea of where my money goes when I'm buying something from the Restore. So that's just a little example of my core value of feeling that home should be affordable. You shouldn't go into debt. And just because something is affordable doesn't mean it has to be cheap. There's nothing cheap about this chair. I mean, at all. It's a luxury piece of furniture, and it's actually an indoor-outdoor chair. So just imagine I can put this in my shop, or I can set it outside of my shop, plug it in, have a little patio there, and be able to sit outside on the cooler nights and use it for my shed for work purposes. So that's my first core value. So my second core value is that I believe that crafting is therapy. And when I started my blog and started my YouTube channel, the main thing that I was talking about is, let's make home affordable. Let's decorate on a budget. But there's something that goes deeper than just decorating your home on a budget. Thinking about putting paint on a project and being in that space, that creative space where you're feeling good. You've got your coffee or tea next to you, maybe your wine. You've got the Golden Girls on or your favorite series that you're watching, and you're painting or you're making something with wood and power tools, and you just feel so good. And even if you don't get that project done that day, it's there for you the next day or the next day or when the weekend comes. And I don't know about you, but when I've got a project going in the garage, I mean, I usually don't get it done in one day, but it's so exciting having that project to look forward to come back and work on, right? Like, do you look forward to projects like that? Because I know I do. I think the hard part for me is getting started on projects, because a lot of times you're not sure what you're going to do, what color. But once you're sort of underway and you kind of got a feel for what you're doing and the direction you're going, it's so exciting. And it's like therapy. It just makes you feel so good and so proud and so, comforting when you're in the space that you love and you are being creative and you're solving problems, making things. So that's something that I try to let people know, that, thrift diving is not just about, oh, let's decorate your house on a budget, but it is about inspiring people and motivating them to put down their phones and put down Pinterest, turn it off, and actually go do something with everything that you've been learning. Because at this point, you pretty much know what to do, right? You've done all of your research. Now it's time to go and be creative, because not only is it, it's decorating your home on a budget, but it's making you feel good. It's exciting. It's making you feel like you've got something to look forward to, when sometimes, things could be depressing in other parts of your life. But when you're painting that furniture or working on that project, you feel good. It's like therapy. So that is one of my core values. And that's why I love doing what I do and inspiring people to make things and to upcycle, repurpose, because it feels good. So that's my second core value. My third core value is that I love a good deal. Like the chair that I just mentioned, the designer chair, I got a really good deal on that. I mean, it was a $1,700 chair and I got it for 35% of what it typically costs in a retail store or online. I love a good deal. Sometimes though, I think this core value can bite me in the butt because there are times when I have bought things just because it is a good deal. And that's when I have to be very careful what I bring into the house. There was one time several years ago, I bought this vintage, I guess it was like a Victrola. Remember those old record player type Victrolas? I found it at the thrift store. It was in perfect condition. And I looked it up on eBay and I think I'd seen them being listed for $300, $400, $500, somewhere in that range. Well, this one was marked for $150. Now, did I really care about this piece? I don't think so. I think I just became enamored with the idea that it was like so much cheaper than what it was on eBay, and I bought it. Do you think I ever did anything with it? I didn't. I literally had it sit in my garage for probably 3-4 years, never did anything with it until finally, when I was cleaning my garage out, I said, you know what? I'm not going to do anything with this. It doesn't even really need to be restored, but I find no purpose with this. I'm not going to take the time to try to auction it off or resell it. I just wanted it gone. So I did a massive Goodwill, I think it was like Salvation Army or Goodwill donation for some things I had in my garage, and I just donated it. So sometimes that value of mine gets me into trouble because I do like a good deal. There's nothing like the hunt, right? Like when you know that you have found something valuable. I'll tell you another example. And I think I've told you this before. Years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago, could be more, I found it's a vintage drafting table, and the brand is called Anco Built, I believe, ANCO Built, BILT. And when I looked it up, well, I didn't look it up till later, but when I saw it at the thrift store, it was 50% off that day, and I just made it into the store right as the 50% off deal was about to expire. Well, it was in the back of the store. It was marked at $60, and I was going to be able to get it for $30. So I'm lugging this thing up to the front, just made the deal, and tried to figure out how to put it in my car. I only had, a 4-door sedan at the time. So I broke it down and then shoved all the pieces into my trunk, got that baby home, and I loved it. Now, I was actually going to paint it. Stupid me. This is back when I was painting every piece of wood furniture, which I don't do now. I do appreciate the beauty of wood now, but I was going to paint it. And before I painted it, I happened to see that there was one on eBay that had sold for maybe 350, I think. And when I saw that, I was like, there's no way that I can paint this. I would be destroying this beautiful vintage drafting table. So that is something that is, I would say, probably is my favorite thrift store find ever. It was affordable. And in fact, if you have watched my channel in the last, I'd say probably month or two, I actually restored, and I will leave a link down below. I restored this vintage drafting table and it looks fantastic. Over the years, my kids, they've done crafting projects at the table. They've carved their names in it, places I didn't even know that they have carved it. And it just looked bad. It looked really, really bad. So with the stripping and the restaining, it's gorgeous. I love it. In fact, it's right here behind me in this room. I'm peeking at it now. It's my most prized possession. And I'm actually thinking I probably will take it out to my shed when the shed comes next week. Well, not next week. It's going to come next week, but I still need to do flooring and electric and all that stuff. So there's going to be a little bit of downtime there. So anyway, that is my third value. I love a good deal. The fourth value is that I value convenience. And when you think about convenience, you're usually going to have to pay more for convenience, right? Convenient foods are more expensive. Anything that just makes it easier for you or saves you time is going to cost you money. And I feel that as I've gotten older, as my income has gone up, I have allowed myself to pay for convenience more when I couldn't afford it. And I appreciate it now. Like, for example, and this isn't necessarily related to home, and I haven't traveled during the pandemic, but before the pandemic, I would travel a lot to different conferences and work things. And it used to be that I would take the shuttle, right? It was cheaper just to pay the $25, $30 and just get like the super shuttle to the airport. And then, maybe even take the shuttle back or, have somebody drop you off. Well, my husband, he doesn't like to drive. So having him drop me off is not a possibility. I live in the DC metro area, and the closest airport I would say is BWI, Baltimore Washington International Airport. It's about 30 minutes from my house, which is not too bad. But I have gotten to the point where if I travel, I will drive my car and park it there. And I will pay the $8 a day to park. And when I get back, if it's, 40, 50, whatever it is, I will pay that amount. I mean, of course, I'm writing it off as a business expense. But even if it was a personal trip and it was coming out of my personal funds, I would just pay it. Because I have realized when I go to the airport, I don't want to stand and wait for someone. Like, I want the convenience of being able to just go when I want to go. And even though that's not related to the home, I do find that love of convenience is starting to come out in certain things that I'm doing around the house. Like, for example, this week, I had someone come to give me a quote on what it would cost to get one of those water treatment systems in your house. Now, it's not going to treat all the water. It's literally installed underneath the sink, kitchen sink, and it will filter out all the impurities, drinking water, cooking water, all of those things would be filtered. And I think it produces like 40 gallons a day if you need it to. Well, it's not going to be cheap, right? It's going to be like $2,200 is what the guy quoted me with taxes and everything, $2,200. And remember, I told you at the beginning of this episode, at least twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, I'm going to the store and I'm having to fill up these 2 5-gallon buckets, containers of drinking water for my family. Well, we go through water pretty quickly, and it really falls on my shoulders as being the one that has to stop what I'm doing during the day because we've run out of water and I've got to take 20 minutes to drive there. And then when I go to the store, I end up shopping, spending however much money on groceries, sometimes things that I don't need. I'm just buying because I'm there, and then lugging that home. And I'm doing that 2 or 3 times a week. And my husband and I, we had talked about this before. He'd said, why don't we look into how much it would cost to get a filtration, system? Well, in my mind, I thought, who can afford that? Right? But when the guy came this week, and I thought he was going to say $5,000, $6,000, and it just was not going to happen. Just don't want to spend that kind of money. But he said $2,200. And I said, let's go ahead and do it. Let's schedule it. Come on Tuesday and let's get this set up. So today when I was filling those jugs, I thought, man, this is one less trip that I'm going to have to take. I'm still going to have to grocery shop. I don't have to stop what I'm doing. A lot of times I'll be in the middle of a project and then I've got to stop and go buy water. And now I feel like half the day is gone because I've been out for a couple hours and it just throws off my entire day. So I value convenience, and I'm willing to put a little bit of money behind things if it means it's going to be more convenient. But again, I'm only going to spend the amount of money I know that I can afford, right? I'm not going to go into debt paying for convenience if I can't afford to do it. Because remember, I think home should be affordable. What's affordable? Well, $2,200 may not be affordable for you or for the next person. Somebody else listening to this would say, you know what? We paid $3,000 for our system. Yeah, it's a pretty good deal. So it's all relative, but you should never have to apologize or explain what your values are, right? And I don't think I've ever really put it, well, I'm doing air quotes, on paper. Well, I did actually write it down, that I value convenience and I'm willing to pay for that if I can afford it. So that's another one of mine. So think about, I've given you 4 of my values. What are your values? Do you value family, and is your house set up? Is it conducive for family time? Do you have enough space in your house to accommodate all the members of your family? You might be someone who values family and you want to have people over, but it's COVID times. You don't want to have your whole family over. But, a friend of mine, she said, we value friends and family, but we don't have anywhere to put them when they come over because of COVID. So I'm thinking about doing like a fire pit in my backyard, she said. So think about the things that you could do in your house that are in line with what your values are, so that there's a continuum between what you value and what you're actually doing in your life. You know what I'm saying? And once you do that, you don't have to necessarily worry about the cost or someone criticizing you on the cost. There's a woman down the street. I don't know her personally, but I've been driving by there and she's getting a pool in her backyard. I can't even imagine how much that pool is costing her. In fact, today I saw the truck to fill it up with water. I mean, I was thinking, it's September. You're not going to even get any warm days at this point, but you'll have it for next summer. But what's her values? What does she value in order to spend this probably $30,000, $40,000, if not more, to get a pool in her backyard? But she doesn't have to explain that, because that pool is going to allow her to maybe have friends and family over. Now she's going to be able to have her grandkids, whoever it is that is coming over to enjoy that pool with her. She's going to get something out of it, and it's going to feed her soul, versus her having to explain, well, it costs $40,000, well, or feel guilty about spending that money. There's no guilt when it falls in line with what your values are. Okay, so 2 more values. The 5th value that I have is that every ugly thing can be beautiful again. I love taking ugly things and making it beautiful. I love proving to people that things that are ugly that they could not imagine could be beautiful once I get my hands on it. In fact, there was a chair from my grandmother, probably about 6 years ago. She was in a nursing home. She had Alzheimer's. And there was this beautiful chair. Now, I say it was beautiful. I saw the beauty in it, but my mom didn't. And I knew my grandmother was getting to the end of her life. And I knew that she only had maybe about a day or two. And that was probably going to be the last time I saw her. And that chair was in her room. It wasn't her chair. I think it was actually there when she moved into the room. And so that day that I was there, as I was saying my goodbyes, I just happened to notice this chair again. I said to the staff, do you mind if I take this chair? Can I have it? They said, sure, go ahead and take it. Well, I took this brown, quote unquote, ugly chair, and it had a faux leather covering on it. I mean, it was cute, but it needed a lot of work. And I took that chair, I painted it, I made a new cover for it on the cushions, and I surprised my mom with it. And she loved it. It's in her bedroom now. It's been several years now since I gave her that chair. She sits in it, she reads, does her bills and all that good stuff. So she couldn't see the beauty in that chair, but I knew it when I looked at it that it was going to be a beautiful chair, and she appreciated it. And, the symbolic memory of that chair really touched home for her when she saw the chair. So that's something that I enjoy, is taking ugly things and making them pretty. And sometimes it can be a challenge. And sometimes I love to shock people with how well things can be cleaned up. And I think it motivates people to start looking at things differently and looking at the things that are in their house. Like, it doesn't even have to be a thrift store item. It can just be a bed set, that's in the old spare bedroom that you never really liked it. You always thought it was ugly. But once you've seen something that I've created or painted, you're like, you know what? I don't actually have to go and buy a new bedroom set. I could just paint this one and turn it into what I really want. So that is one of my core values. It makes me feel so good when someone is inspired by seeing a makeover that I've done that they didn't imagine it could look so good. So that's another one of my core values, number 5. And the last one is that I think your home should be uniquely you. What happens is that we pay too much attention to what's in style, what's on trend. Right now I guess people are loving, the farmhouse look, and they love, I can't even think, I don't even follow certain trends. I can't even think of what it's called, but basically like I'm having a brain fart right now. But certain farmhouse looks, people absolutely love it. And I think if you really, really love it, then go for it. You shouldn't have to explain what it is that you love. But if you're just picking something because you feel like it's in style and you want your home to look current and modern, or, whatever it is that's trending right now, I don't think that's the reason to do it. I think you should get what you want because it's what you love and it represents who you are. And I would tell you, when I moved into this house, I paid a lot of attention to the types of furniture that was very popular. I saw people doing makeovers, and when I would go to the thrift store, I would find things that looked like what other people were making over. And I thought, oh my gosh, this chair? Whoa, this is only $20. I'm going to buy it. And then I'd make it over and I'd sit it somewhere in my house, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really know where to put this because it's kind of not really my style. I mean, I enjoyed the makeover. I loved making this ugly chair look pretty, but it wasn't really my style. Now, it was unique, but it wasn't really my style. So I would say that your home should be uniquely you. Buy the things that are a reflection of what you love and not what everybody else loves. Or if you go to some place like IKEA, it's kind of a turnoff when you're standing there and you're looking at a framed piece of art and there's literally 20 pieces in the pile that look exactly the same. I find it hard to buy things like that when I see that there's multiple of ones. That's why I've always loved the thrift store. I've loved going to Home Goods. A lot of times you can only find maybe one or two of something. Doesn't mean this is the only one that exists, but it means someone's not going to come in right after me and buy the exact same piece of art that I did or the exact same rug, because there's only one here. I got it. It's mine. I scored a good deal. So think about what you want your home to be. Make it a reflection of you. And I feel like I honestly feel like I want to do a complete home makeover in my house. I want to do like a massive decluttering. I want to go through every single room and get rid of anything that I've brought into the house that I just didn't love. That's not a reflection of who I am. And there's some pieces that I can look around and say, well, I enjoyed making that over, but I just loved the makeover. I didn't actually love the furniture itself, right? Like it doesn't really fit anywhere because it's not me. So that's what I would say. Turn your home into what is uniquely you. And if it's something that's on trend, great. But if it's not, that's okay. I know I love shag rugs. And so nearly every single room in my house, there's a shag rug. Is it in style? I couldn't even tell you. I have no idea. I don't care. But shag rugs are me. That's just what I like to feel under my feet when I go into a room. I love the thick, plush feel of shag rug. So that's what I'm going to do in my room. All right. So I want you to think about what are your 6, and I'm going to tell you to write down 6 because that's what I saw on the wall in the organic store. So I said, since I saw 6, I'm going to write down my own 6, and I'm going to challenge you to think about what your 6 core values are when it comes to your life, when it comes to your house. You can make it whatever you want to be, but think about what that is. And then ask yourself if you are doing the things that show or demonstrate that that's your core value. And if it's not, then you can make changes. You can make changes. That's how I'm making changes. I'm going to go through and I'm going to get rid of and just donate things that are not me, things that I bought just because, it was popular at the time, but that's not my style of chair. I don't really like that anymore. Anyway, that's what I have for you today. This was a fun episode because it was just something that I was inspired. And when I'm inspired, I got to get it out. So I hope you enjoyed listening to this. Be sure to come back next week. I don't know what I'm going to talk about next week. Oh, next week, remember, next Thursday, my shed is going to be delivered next week. So I think what I'll do is I will try to make next week's episode something about the shed. Yes, because I am going to be all about the shed. This week, I will tell you, this week, I need to actually get done my husband's office makeover. I'm doing a sponsored project with Wagner, and I only have about a week to turn that project around. That room, there's no personality in there. It's kind of become like this storage room for hubby, but he's got a desk there and it's not pretty. So I've got to turn that around this week as quickly as possible, and it's going to be difficult. So wish me luck. But yes, next Thursday, the shed will be here. Friday's episode will be something about the shed, and I just can't wait to see this thing constructed because I've been waiting forever. Well, forever is 6 months to me. I've been waiting 6 months for this shed. All right, guys, I will see you next episode. Have a wonderful weekend, and be sure to come back next week. Follow me on Instagram at Thrift Diving. I'm almost to 10,000. I'm like 30 people shy. So head over there if you haven't, and I will see you next episode.